The process of getting a movie from the development stage and into theaters can be a long and difficult one. Movies take a lot of time, effort and people to get made and can face a lot of challenges practically every step of the way, including issues with the casting, budget and more, assuming a movie even makes it past the planning stages. Unfortunately, due to those issues, some movies, no matter how highly anticipated, never make it out of the production stage and into theaters, even though filming was well underway in some cases. Although this has always been the case in Hollywood, recently, more and more studios have been making headlines not for their blockbuster hits but for the projects they've chosen to scrap during production. Many factors can play into the decision to cancel a movie during production. Sometimes, timing is a factor, with some films being scrapped due to similar projects being released by other studios or even world events having an impact. No matter the reason, some of these movies have become the stuff of Hollywood legend. Number 10, Midnight Rider. The life of Gregg Allman was going to be brought to the screen in biopic Midnight Rider, starring William Hurt and based on Allman's book My Cross to Bear. On the first day of filming, which took place on an operational train track without permission, a train hit the set, injuring 7 people and resulting in the death of second assistant camera operator Sarah Jones. As a result, multiple crew members received jail time and fines. Midnight Rider was a rare but horrific example of a tragedy on set putting an end to production. Although production was set to continue, Hurt pulled out and Allman himself sued to make sure filming did not resume, and their issues with production continuing were understandable. After the incident, footage was released of the crew scrambling to clear the tracks as the train approached, and it's chilling to watch knowing the outcome. Number 9, Gigantic. Disney musical animated film Gigantic would have told the story of a teenager who discovered giants living among the clouds, loosely based on the classic fairy tale Jack and the Beanstalk with songs by Robert Lopez and Kristen Anderson Lopez, the duo behind the music of Frozen. It was announced during the 2015 D23 event and originally scheduled for release in 2016, then pushed back multiple times to 2020. It was officially cancelled in 2017. It's hard to imagine that a film featuring the creative minds behind Frozen's Let It Go would be anything but successful, but executives felt Gigantic just wasn't working. Disney fans launched an unsuccessful campaign to save the movie. And although audiences won't get to see it, it lives on in other projects. It's among bootleg DVDs being sold in a scene of Zootopia, and a song originally meant for the film was repurposed and used in WandaVision. Number 8, At the Mountains of Madness. H.P. Lovecraft novella At the Mountains of Madness, about an expedition to the Antarctic which led to the discovery of ancient ruins, was nearly adapted for the screen by Guillermo del Toro for Universal Pictures, with James Cameron as producer. The production was cancelled, however. In 2022, Del Toro posted a brief clip of test footage online, reviving fans' hopes that there's still a chance the film could be made. With a track record including movies like Pan's Labyrinth, Del Toro was a great choice for the adaptation, and his take on At the Mountains of Madness could have been, and could still be, incredible. The test footage the director posted was haunting, providing a promising look at what he had in mind. It's just one of a number of unfinished films of Del Toro's that had immense potential, but here's hoping that potential is one day realized. Number 7, Yellow Submarine. Robert Zemeckis was working on a computer-animated remake of classic Beatles animated musical film Yellow Submarine using motion capture with his studio, Image Movers, intended to be distributed by Disney and released in 2012. The film faced multiple issues, including with the budget, and Disney ultimately shut it down after Zemeckis' A Christmas Carol didn't perform well in theaters. Zemeckis did shop Yellow Submarine to other studios, but none were interested. While one could argue the iconic Beatles films should not be remade, Zemeckis' approach sounded interesting and could have resulted in a fun, trippy film, as proven by test footage and concept art which has appeared online in the years since production ended. Despite criticism of motion capture technology, the leaked art and footage looks interesting, like a modernized version of the colorful animation style from the original, and the story would still resonate with modern audiences. Number 6, Broadway Brawler. In 1997, Bruce Willis and Maura Tierney were set to star together in romantic comedy Broadway Brawler, about a retired hockey player who found love. The cast and crew spent 20 days shooting the project until a dissatisfied Willis, who was also one of the producers, fired many of them. The movie was to be distributed by Disney, and by the time production was shut down, over half of the $20 million budget had been spent. Things worked out alright in the end for Willis. Although the chaotic early days of Broadway Brawler and his actions led to the film's demise, in the studio's attempt to recoup their financial loss, they contributed to Willis' huge career. As a result of those losses, Willis was contractually obligated to make 3 more movies for Disney for less pay. The most successful of those was The Sixth Sense, one of Willis' most memorable roles to date. Number 5, Revenge of the Nerds. In 2006, Fox Atomic planned a remake of 1980s comedy Revenge of the Nerds, which followed a group of nerds in college as they sought to take down their rival jocks. The movie had begun filming when it was cancelled in part due to issues with the filming location, as well as studio head Peter Rice's disappointment with the dailies. The cast included Adam Brody and Jenna Dewan. In 2020, Seth MacFarlane announced plans for a reboot movie. Revenge of the Nerds was a rare example of a movie being cancelled during filming, as typically, that decision is made much earlier in the process. While elements of the original film haven't aged well, a remake would have provided the opportunity to explore the story without them for modern audiences. Even if MacFarlane's version is released, it will be a reboot with a different premise as opposed to a straight remake. Number 4, Empires of the Deep. Fantasy film Empires of the Deep was set underwater in ancient Greece and told the story of 8 mermaid kingdoms. Although a trailer was released, the film never made it to theaters. Production was troubled from the start, with multiple changes to the cast and crew. The film cost a whopping $130 million to make, making it the most expensive unreleased film ever made, and was the brainchild of real estate tycoon John Jang. Empires of the Deep was considered China's version of James Cameron's blockbuster Avatar, and indeed, it was an ambitious project which did have the potential to be an impressive fantasy epic. The current status of the movie is unclear. It's thought that it stalled in post-production as a result of poor test screenings and reaction to the trailer. While the movie does look entertaining, some have commented that it does not have the look expected of a film with such a large budget. Number 3, My Best Friend's Birthday. Iconic director Quentin Tarantino's very first film has never been seen by audiences, and was actually never finished. Comedy My Best Friend's Birthday would have told the story of a Mickey, a man whose girlfriend has just left him and whose best friend sets out to make his birthday unforgettable. Half of the film was rumored to have been lost in a fire, which Tarantino has since said was not true. Although My Best Friend's Birthday was never finished, about half of the film exists online, giving an idea of what it was like, and for fans eager to watch anything by Tarantino, it's at least something. It features some actors who starred in some of Tarantino's later films, and fans will also enjoy picking out references which reappeared later. The movie was the very first in a string of unrealized projects for the director. Number 2, Superman Lives. Audiences almost got a different take on Superman from Warner Bros. In Superman Lives, with Tim Burton set to direct and Kevin Smith working as the film's writer. The star-studded cast also included Nicolas Cage as Superman, as well as Chris Rock as Jimmy Olsen, Sandra Bullock as Lois Lane and Christopher Walken as Brainiac. It was intended for release in 1998. The scrapped film was the subject of the 2015 documentary The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened? Superman Lives was cancelled just weeks before filming was set to begin and is the most high-profile unmade project in both Burton and Cage's careers. Burton's take on Superman likely would have been just as memorable as his take on Batman, and Cage would have been fascinating to see in the role. But What Happened offers some insight into what went wrong and is the closest audiences will get to seeing what the film could have been. And number 1, the superhero movie that was cancelled mid-production, directed by Adil El-Arbi and by Lal Fala, Batgirl. Batgirl had not only filmed but was entering post-production when Warner Bros. Announced the film was being cancelled in August of 2022. When the film was initially greenlit, executives Jason Kilar and Dan Saronoff were in charge, but since then, Warner Media merged with Discovery Incorporated and had changes in leadership, shifting the studio's focus. Batgirl starred Leslie Grace, with a cast which also included J.K. Simmons, Brendan Fraser, and Michael Keaton. It was set to stream on Max. Warner Brothers has cited poor quality as the reason for scrapping Batgirl, but audiences may never know for sure. It's a shame fans won't get to enjoy Grace's take on the titular character, Keaton's return to playing Batman, or Fraser's role as her enemy, Firefly, as part of Fraser's recent Hollywood comeback, especially when the movie was finished with filming. With the film cancelled so late in the process, perhaps it'll be released eventually, but that seems unlikely.